Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, viewers and listeners. So, first, let me ask you a question. Is there a moment in your life that you feel like you're standing in front of the crowd, or even in just a single word that you can't even pronounce, or the way of being, feeling heard feels heavier than you imagined? So, with that, there's also question that running into your mind that is what ifs. So let's turn that what ifs into let's do it. So with this podcast, we'll be able to help you to nourish on how you will be able to be confident speak when it comes to uh, public speaking. So without further ado, come join with us and let's now talk about how you will grow as a person. You are your own kid, you are your own learning.
So, listening to that, Nicole, I realized something. So, when I was younger, I used to be afraid of speaking in front of people. I would overthink every word and worry about making mistakes. But now that I'm in college, I'm starting to understand that public speaking isn't about being perfect. It's about being brave enough to share your voice. So, today, I want to ask you a question, partners. Have you ever had a moment where fear almost stopped you from speaking but you still chose to try?
Yeah, most of the time, honestly. Well, of course, you know, there's an situation in my life way back on my high school days that I was active. I was very popular when it comes to public speaking. But not to brag, but I will always raise my hand in front of the class and always recite about those about my thoughts towards the lesson and so on and so forth. But suddenly, my thrive just simply becoming slower, and I admitted to myself that I'm not that already that capable enough, unlike to my younger self before. So it turns out that my younger self is more than confident enough than myself right now.
I get what you mean, Nicole. So, even me, I felt that too. So, back in high school, I used to get nervous too, but over time in college, I've learned to channel that fear into confidence.
Yeah.
It's not that
Of course.
I don't feel anymore.
Right, Anthony?
I do, but I've realized that showing up and speaking, my mind matters more than being
Yeah, that's
perfect.
what's matter the most.
Because I think you can get there too. It just takes practice, small steps, and trusting that your voice deserves
one
to be
step at a
heard.
time.
Yes, and any way to try even you are afraid is the bravest thing you can do.
Yes. Well, hearing that statement of yours makes me feel able to grow also as my younger self and also as myself right now. So it gives me hope at the same time that to thrive about showing up even though it's hard, knowing that we're in college that it is very tough.
Yeah.
We're facing a lot of challenges such as demo teaching, research, and so on and so forth. So it's hard for us to cope up, and it's hard for us to nourish. And how do we focus, or which area should we focus, right?
Yes.
So you know what? Back in my high school life, I used to get really shy,
Happened.
and I would often feel down because
Right.
if I pronounced the word the wrong way, especially when I doubted myself or felt like I didn't belong, there were times that I stayed quiet because I was afraid of saying the wrong thing.
How come?
So, but over time, I realized that staying silent only held me back. So little by little, I pushed myself to speak up.
That's what mattered the most.
Yeah.
That you always speak up and show up.
To speak up even when it was uncomfortable, and that when things started to change. How about you, Josie?
You know,
I mean, did you find entering college life hard, and how did you overcome the transition from being a high school student to a college student?
you know what, Anton and Nicole? Honestly, the first month of my college journey wasn't easy.
Yeah.
I experienced
I was right
culture
beside
shock.
you talking to me
Yes.
by that time.
Because I'm not used to speaking in front of people and whom I haven't known for a long time.
Yeah, that's a big
especially
adjustment
in our
for
course
you,
and in
right?
our major and speaking in front in the English language. There were times that after school when I got home, all I did was complain about what happened in school. So, when everything felt too much for me, I cried, and after that, I realized that when I was in high school, I was confident with what I know. But now that I'm in college, I'm starting to doubt my capabilities, which I know that was wrong.
So that's a big adjustment for you, right? Like from being a senior high school student,
Yes.
it's a very big shift that you just suddenly became a college student
Yes,
with
because-
new friends, with new classroom, and new
Yeah.
environment itself,
Yes,
right?
because I feel that I'm not comfortable with people whom I am
Yeah.
talking now because I'm not familiar with them.
True. And also the language itself, knowing that
Yes.
we're taking up the Bachelor of Secondary Education
Yeah.
major in English,
Yes.
we should be proficient enough. We are expected to be proficient enough
Yes.
when it comes to speaking in English,
Instead of
right?
trying.
So thank you for that, Nicole and Josie, for being honest about that.
Yeah.
It really takes the courage to share what went through sounds really overwhelming. So especially the shift from feeling confident in high school to suddenly doubting yourself in a completely new environment. I can imagine how hard it must have been dealing with culture shock,
Yeah.
speaking in
True.
English,
Yes, you know.
and feeling like everything changed so fast, right, Nicole?
Yeah, it is very rapid at the same time. You can even comprehend it to yourself. Like, suddenly, I was just a little girl bouncing around the bush, but suddenly you have that responsibilities carrying upon your shoulders that you should be proficient enough, such as there's expectations, you should reach this proficient level of English language, and so on and so forth. So, as an English major, we should strive more, but also for us listeners, for our listeners, we should tell them that we should thrive and we should show up despite of the challenges we face, and also those tips that we usually encounter, like in college, diba?
Yes.
Our prof or instructors usually said to us that you should practice when it comes to
Yeah.
phonics
Yes.
and the syntax and so on and so forth. So that's very important, guys, okay? For you to be able to become proficient enough when it comes to grammar, not just on speaking, but also in writing itself. So in general, okay? Is that a good idea? Right, Miss Josie?
Yes,
and
thank
right,
you,
Miss
Nicole and
Ross?
Anton, for sharing your experiences. So, honestly, what helped me adjust was taking small, consistent steps. to
Yeah,
practice
that's what I said
speaking.
earlier.
Yeah, so-
start from phonemes.
Yes, so
Phonics.
even if it felt uncomfortable at first,
Yeah.
according to research on self-efficacy by Bandura, or gradually facing challenges and experiencing small success build confidence over time. So, also, seeking supportive peers and reflecting on each little achievements made me realize that I can handle speaking in front of others, and that slowly turned fear into confidence.
That's
True.
matter to me. That's
Yeah.
matters to me.
Actually, Anthony, that's actually makes a lot of sense that this Miss Josie's statement that it's really about showing up on how you connect the Bandura's theory of self-efficiency and how the research really works well, and how
Yes.
thus the self-confidence will grow, and throughout the mystery of experiences we will be able to have that small wins into bigger wins, right? We should start from a smaller step before we got into a bigger step. So with that, each time we should speak up, and through with it, if your brain starts to recognize that you can do it, which is can slowly down your confidence, but at the same time, it can turn
Yes.
into bigger. So in psychology, according to edugov.2016, wherein I researched it, that it supports on what you said about having peers. It is a very big impact that you have that good support system, right?
Yes, that's
Good
right.
support system includes your friends, family, and your loved ones. But the only exception for the loved ones, another one, if you know, your partner.
Yeah.
So that's the exception. So with that, having that thrive or encouragement with within your environment, it will have a good result, which is you will turn that small wins into bigger wins,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's right, Nicole. So, how about you, Anthony? I'm curious. So, thinking about all your experiences, what strategies or moment help you to start feeling more confident when speaking in front of others?
That's really good question, Josie.
Yes.
So from my experience, I didn't change overnight.
Whoa.
So yeah.
Actually,
It
you
takes
can
time.
even change overnight because
Yeah.
you're not a night owl, right? Obviously.
So,
You can shift, right?
Yes.
Back in my high school, I was really shy and I would feel down whenever I had to speak in front of others.
Yeah.
I used to overthink every time I was scared.
Same.
Being judged,
I am
yeah.
an overthinker, 24 hours, and I also
Non-stop overthinking.
I also question my comprehension right now. Obviously, honestly.
So I often stayed quiet. So but what helped me taking small risk like answering simple questions or participating in group discussion. Over time, those small moments added up and started to feel a bit more comfortable in speaking.
Yeah.
So for me, it was really about experience, shifting from mindset and applying small but consistent strategies that helped me become confident. So
Right.
Yes. You know what? That makes so much sense, Anthony. So, I love how you emphasize taking small steps into gaining experiences. So, it really shows that confidence grows gradually.
And
So,
also confidence
Yes.
radiates when you are confident enough within
Yeah.
yourself.
and when you start to believe in your
Yes.
capabilities. So, your story actually reminds me of a way of I like to think about public speaking. So, using speak as an acronym. So, S for start small and take tiny steps.
Yes, and that's an S. Okay,
Yes.
take note of that, listeners. S for
So, start small, take tiny steps.
okay.
For the letter P, we have practice consistently.
Okay. Also, of course, if we practice consistently, we'll be able to pronounce the words and phrases or the passage itself correctly without hesitating. And also, we will be able to be confident enough when it comes to
Yes.
public speaking.
That's for
Yeah.
letter E. So
Okay.
now let's move on to letter E. So in letter E, we have embrace mistakes as learning.
True. Like I usually encounter way back on my reporting, and that particular instructor, on my previous years, I'm having a hard time to grasp that constructive criticism. But as time goes by, I just realized that constructive criticism will help us to improve as individuals and as an English major, as a person, and also as a learner. So without those constructive criticism, it will be hard for us to find out
Yes.
where areas we should be improving. So we should start from correction into redirection and to perfection. Okay?
That's right, Nicole. Kasi, di ba, nobody's perfect. So
Yes,
we can
right.
learn from our mistakes.
Yes.
So,
Exactly.
it's important to learn from our mistakes and use that as a motivation for the next time. So,
True.
now let's move
Very
on to
well
letter
said.
A. So, in letter A, we have ask for feedback and support.
Okay. For you, Anton, so for you, from the word ask for feedback and support. So for you, what does it mean?
For me, it's very important to ask feedback and support because if you ask or if you get that, you will be able to correct yourself.
True.
You will be able to gain knowledge and also that's a big foundation to become a better version of yourself.
True.
Now, let's move on to letter K, the
So,
last
K
one.
for
The letter K for keep reflecting on progress.
okay. So with that, for me, you should, diba, on K we should start small, while on P we should practice, and also E we should embrace, and letter A
Yes.
for ask a feedback. So
Yeah.
in this one, we will reflect in which areas we improve and which we should be enhancing, and also which area we should learn how to share with other people.
That's it.
Yes.
That's
Okay,
it.
everyone, don't forget the meaning of speak. So you know what, guys? When we speak this way, it turns fear into growth and
Yeah.
hesitation into
True.
confidence. So I think your approach really perfectly fits with this idea.
For me, emphasizing the words, it really shows confidence gradually. So the acronym will speak also within your confidence, right? We should also remind ourselves, listeners, that we should not lose hope
Yeah.
for learning. Since
Yes.
you just, for example, you're
For
struggling when it comes to public speaking or pronunciation or such as words, there's a long E, long O, right?
Yeah.
There's
Yes.
a phonics, phonemes, and also if you encounter the syntax, kindly scroll it down on the Google, actually, there's an application or a website
Yeah.
that I always look up to.
That can help you to learn
First,
better.
Um,
Like that.
first is Merriam-Webster.
Yeah.
Second is EduGov. And third is Wikipedia. So those three websites will also help you. So hopefully it will also help you. So
Yes.
because of that, the truth of that fear doesn't mean that we are weak, right?
Yes,
Yes.
you're right, Nicole.
It means that we care. It means that our voice matters enough to be heard. At the same time, we are learning. So even though we are choosing a growth over comfort, there's a courage over a silence. Of course, you should choose to be courage enough before you silence. Okay? So if you're listening right now, my co-listeners or my puppies, oh sorry, but if you feel like your voice isn't enough, that you should remember this, right? That you are not behind. So, right?
Yes.
Inclusive education is a must. So, you are becoming who you are becoming your own kid, and so,
Speak
now. So, with this has been your host, Miss Nix, and,
And
this
I am
is
Miss Chossie.
And I am Mr. Anthony.
and see you on the next podcast. So, speak now.